say anything with Richie here?
Yeah.
He didn't.
That's how his son's experience.
He didn't end as a fan of residential life, put it that way.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Part of it is he's working. He's working 20 hours.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. But then, COVID didn't help.
No. Is this his first year?
He didn't really get it. He didn't come in and wanted all of his life, and he
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, X, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Is it not loud? Do I need to get closer? Testing, testing. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Do we need to up the volume, or do you think it's okay? Up it? Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Rishi Sriram, and I am the director of the Higher Education and Student Affairs Master's Program here at Baylor University. And I want to welcome you to our official in-person hooding ceremony. Before I call Dr. Glanzer to the podium to open us in prayer, I would like us to thank someone who has really been working tirelessly to make this happen, especially with the really cool YouTube live stream. Can we please show our appreciation to Tanner Osborne? When I went to Tanner, who is our Director of Technology and Facilities and Resources in the School of Education, and said, hey, can we get this thing on Zoom? He just kind of looked at me with a blank stare and said, I'll get this taken care of. And whereas I was thinking, like, could we plug in a laptop? He has spent, quite honestly, 20 hours setting up for this event with cameras everywhere and all the technology. It's just really impressive, Tanner. I'm so grateful to you. Now, Dr. Glanzer, will you please pray for us?
Well, I start the first class with this prayer, and I think it's a good one to end with. So would you pray with me? For this reason I kneel before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's holy people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen.
The Higher Education and Student Affairs Master's Program represents a pretty significant partnership between the School of Education and the Division of Student Life here at Baylor University. The Division of Student Life has helped to fund this program when we were sort of a small, dwindling program kind of in the corner of campus. Vice President of Student Life at the time, Eileen Holm, injected a lot of her own funds from her division to really ramp this program up. And it launched us. We've really grown in quantity and in quality ever since. And so we've invited Dr. Liz Palacios, Dean for Student Development, to come to the mic and greet you and give some opening remarks. Dr. Palacios.
I'll put this down a little bit lower. Okay, that was it for my act, okay? I didn't wear my poofy hat because I was explaining to my colleagues over here that my head was not made for a poofy hat, so excuse the half-dressed here. But I just want to say congratulations to each and every one of you. You have done an amazing feat. And I say amazing because you're like the only class has done it in COVID here at Baylor University and still came out shining, came out, I want to say sane, but I'm going to leave that for a little bit. But just the fact that you were resilient, and it wasn't by yourselves. I congratulate also the supervisors because they guided you and mentored you and prayed for you and probably put up with you sometimes or other. But no, I won't name that clap. But Student Life and the Academy, our Department of HESA program, graduate program, we are bound and we are tied because we both look at you and see what you could be when you come here, see what you're going to be when you leave, and only can imagine what you will accomplish throughout your life. I would like to say it's all because of our faculty and our supervisors, but it's that we've just started you on this journey, and the rest of the journey is yours. In student life, we know that development is important. We know that investment is important. We know that just the relationship. Now, we can teach you theories, and we do. We can teach you all kinds of wonderful models, and we do. But also the important is, how do you use them? How do you use your empathy? And within the Christian context, we were able to say, hey, you know, a lot of this is very, very basic to our Christian values. So today we celebrate you. And again, we celebrate, I always want to say give thanks to those folks that have invested. Your faculty, they have spent hours and hours, if not grading, preparing, if not preparing, just sitting with you, if not just sitting with you, just listening. And so I just love that we have this partnership, and I even say it's more than a partnership. It's just more of I want to say sisterhood. Brotherhood, sisterhood. So we value this very much. We're very excited that we're here in person. I haven't seen some of my own colleagues out of the box in my computer, so it was very exciting to see that they're 3D. But I miss that. I miss that, just that relationships. I miss those collaborations. I miss those just that one-on-one talks. So as you go and as you venture on, some of you know exactly what you're going to do, and some of you are still finding out. The good news is God already knows. He already has a plan. And every time I tell him my plans, they are exactly the opposite. I think I can just hear him laughing when I tell him directly all the things that I want to do, because I know God has a better plan than I can even ever think of, and that's for you as well. And I know that you'll take this green and gold. Now, I'm going to get cheesy, but it's not that you'll fling it out there. You're going to live it. You're going to live the values. You're going to live the values and just the knowledge, and then you'll become expert. And then you'll become, whether you go on academically or in administration, you'll become leaders and influencers. And so that's what I ask you to remember, the things that you talked with your supervisors, the hard things as well as the fun things. Remember those things that your faculty talked to you about, both in books, in class, and out of class. Remember the students that you worked with, because that's another piece that if you're not in this work because of students, you're in the wrong field. And especially if you don't like students, right? And there sometimes we don't, but I won't say that out loud. I will say, though, that you are going to be those influencers, and you have. And I will dare say the students that you've worked with have taught you many things as well. So take those nuggets of wisdom. Take those nuggets of just love, because I know a lot of people loved on you. And so take that with you so that you, in turn, can be that change maker when you go and make a difference in this world. You can be that difference when you go and infuse your knowledge and love into your students. And I dare say, don't ever leave anything the way you found it, right? Leave it better, not worse. But I also, in very, very very seriously, I say, I thank God that we have this time together. I thank God that we have a place to work and to teach, to supervise, and to just love in a place like Baylor. So be our bright stars. I can't wait to see all the wonderful things that you're going to be doing. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Palacios. Graduates, this is your day, and I have one goal today, that you would feel honored, valued, special. And in that regard, I think it's really important that today be about you on this stage, and that you get your moment to say what's in your heart. However, I think we as the faculty would be remiss if we didn't send you with some farewell remarks for a hooding ceremony. and I drew the short straw in that regard. So forgive me. The setting that we're in, as many of you know, is Brooks Residential College, where I serve as faculty steward, which means that I live here. This is my 8th year living in residence in this community of 350 students with my wife and 4 children. And so it is always such a great privilege and honor to see you all in this space that means so much to me. But I'd also like to tell you a story about this very space. When I was hired as an assistant professor, I was on the tenure track. It was a dream come true. So excited. A great text professor who officed here, Dr. Scott Moore, invited me to lunch. And during that lunch, he said, "Well, Rishi, what are you hoping to accomplish, while in this new role as assistant professor?" And I was ready for that question. So I listed off the things that I wanted to do and how I wanted to contribute to the field, right? That's what you're supposed to say as a tenure track professor. You're supposed to talk all about how you want to make such a great contribution to the field. You want to become a name. You want to become known, right? And he listened very intently, very quietly, until I finally finished. And then, very succinctly, I might even say rudely, Dr. Moore said, "I think it's great to make a meaningful contribution to the field, but I also think it's something worth thinking about to make a meaningful contribution to people." I just thought, well, surely that's what I meant, all right? I just felt very defensive, like, whoa, I'm not trying to say that, I want to make a contribution to the field and not to people. Of course it's all about people. I'm thinking all this, but I knew he had me. I knew his words really penetrated because I knew he was getting at something that although I wanted to be there, I'm not quite sure I was. I'm really humbled by the idea of getting to be called a teacher, because teacher presumes that we have something to teach. Professor presumes that we have something to profess. I think it's also humbling because of the company that such words put us in. They sometimes call Jesus rabbi, for he is a teacher. And notice that I do not say he was a teacher. No, he is a teacher. He is the teacher. A Scottish writer by the name of George MacDonald, who was highly influential to C.S. Lewis, once wrote, "No teacher should strive to make others think as they think, but to lead them to the living truth, to the Master himself, of whom alone they can learn anything." Which also makes me think about Matthew 11:28. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." For the last decade or so, I have been on this journey to study learning itself. Been really surprised and humbled by how little I knew about learning with a PhD in education. During that time, I've really learned something about learning, and I like to call it the learning paradox, if you will. And here it is. The learning paradox has 2 components. On the one hand, I think we greatly underestimate what we can learn. Graduates, you know that I'm obsessed with the development of talent and what leads to talent, and I'm on a journey to argue that there is no such thing as innate talent. I just think as a society, we've just greatly underestimated what we can learn. But at the same time, and maybe ironically, I think we greatly overestimate how quickly we can learn. So on the one hand, I think we sell ourselves short on what we can learn. On the other hand, when we decide to learn something, I think we think that it can happen 3 hours a week, by semester, by course credits, over a 22-month graduate program, right? I do believe that we have the capacity to learn anything, but fear often gets in the way. Therefore, we underestimate what we can learn. And then we decide to learn something and we think it should be easy, but our brains are actually hardwired to forget. We have to convince our brains that something is important before we will remember it. Do you know how long, according to the latest neuroscience, it takes before something we have learned becomes stable and readily accessible in our brains? It takes 10 years, or 22 months in a graduate program. That's a long time. What that means is that you are hardwired to forget the things, the very important things that I have taught you, and some of the things that others have taught as well. Learning is hard, friends. It's really hard. And we overestimate how quickly we can do it. And so let's go back to Matthew 11. Because there, Jesus is inviting us to learn from him. I mean, how glorious is that? To get in this yoke, right? That isn't an image of a classroom. It's an image of doing work with him and learning in the process. So that learning cannot be a one-and-done experience. It has to be a lifelong journey. So over these last 2 years, we have invited you to learn from us. And that can't be a 2 years and done experience. I hope that it's the beginning of a lifelong journey. In fact, to just be a little bit more specific, here are some things that I think I can speak for the faculty on that we hope you've begun learning. To think and reflect more deeply, to better understand how the past affects the present, to see the power of decision-making that is based on evidence, to see how your paradigms influence what you see and what you believe, to allow your faith to animate your learning, no matter where you are, what you're doing, what type of institution you're working at, and to become teachers yourselves. But even more than that, I hope that you have learned to have a deeper relationship with the teacher, the one who is inviting you to get in his yoke and continue to learn from him. Yes, graduates, without a doubt, we want you to make a meaningful contribution to our field. But much more than that, we hope you will make a meaningful contribution to people. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, congratulations. We're so very proud of you. I hope you feel it. I hope that you know it. And now it's time to symbolize that through this hooding ceremony. So here's how it's going to work. Dr. Newman, faculty member in the higher ed program, is going to come and call you up one by one. When she calls you up, I ask that you come to this side of the stage, my left-hand side, where Dean Palacios and I will together hood you. As these hoods are placed over you, May it be a symbol of God's love, care, and calling being placed over you as well. Once the hood is on you, please come to the microphone. You're welcome to take your mask off when you're speaking. I ask that you get a little bit closer to the microphone than maybe you would be comfortable doing to help with sound. And please share your heart for a few minutes, and then we'll call the next person up. So Dr. Newman.
Before I call each of you up, it is my honor to be able to call you by name. This morning, as I thought of you, each one of you by name, prayed for you by name, I thought of two things. First of all, I will always, always be cheering for you. No matter where you are, I'll be cheering from the balcony. I'll be the one cheering the loudest from the balcony. And then the second thing is, you're still out of control, and always will be. And now, without further ado, DeLacy Carpenter.
I'm not going to be up here very long. I hate being the center of attention. I think everyone knows this. I have been on a little bit of a different journey than everyone else that's going to come up here after me. I'm a full-time hall director, so I've been in this program for 3 years, not 2, which has been awesome for me to be able to kind of take what I've been learning in the classroom and practically apply it with my residents and my CLs over at Teal. So that's been a really special experience. I do want to thank this cohort for being very welcoming and supportive of me being full-time and not being like a full member of the cohort, but I felt like a full member of the cohort, so I really appreciate all of you for that. Also my family for supporting me in kind of just a love of learning. This is my second master's degree also, because I just can't get enough of school, and I'll probably be back for a doctorate eventually. Like 5 years down the road, so I need time away from school for a little bit, but I wanted to thank them, and then thank also all the hall directors I work with. I think half of the people I work with have covered my building at least one time in the past 3 years while I've been in class or doing something for the program, so I appreciate them. And as well as my supervisor, Jasmine Jung, who has been a big advocate for me in CLNL to be able to do this program and be working full-time, as well as just kind of supporting me and being someone I can talk to about school, because she's now in her doctorate program. So yeah, that's me.
Sam Cox.
For the first time in my life, I'll keep it brief. Fyodor Dostoevsky, in his magnum opus, The Brothers Karamazov, once said that prayer is an education. And so in the last year and a half with COVID, I think I've learned twice as much, because most of my time not being spent in my apprenticeship or in schoolwork has been spent in a lot of really frantic prayer. And so that's the extent of my speech, but I will be doing a long thank you list. First off, I want to thank Dr. Doherty, Dr. Nathan Alleman, and Dr. Perry Glanzer. They talk about active love being a harsh thing in the Brothers Karamazov, and I really appreciate you putting up with the harsh thing that was my work on our master's thesis. Particularly my partner, Luke Waldberg, I want to thank as well for all the amazing work that he did and for the amazing learning that I got to do with him. I want to thank CLNL and the central office and the program directors that I got to work with. I learned so much from all of you. It's been an amazing, amazing experience. I'll thank her again later, but I want to thank Terry and Molly as well, my colleagues and coworkers. I've learned so much from you, and I've been so blessed by you. I want to thank our TAs, Ted, Rachel, Carrie, Sean, and all the other TAs and PhD students that I've interacted with whose names I can't recall. I apologize. I love you all dearly. Interacting with the PhD students has been an amazing blessing in this program. I want to thank our professors, Dr. Newman, Dr. Cloud, Dr. Glanzer, Dr. Hodges, Elijah, and I want to thank Dr. Suram. I'll get back to him in a second because he's known me for quite a while. Soren Kierkegaard, another philosopher, talks about how our identity, our self, is meant to be rooted firmly in the power that established it. And that ultimately is in our Creator, but it also is in the people and the friendships and the relationships that we've had. So first off, I want to thank the cohort. You all have been really impactful in my life. I've learned a lot from you through the good times and the bad times. Additionally, I want to thank the Turnbulls and Ann Garner from Brooks College, who have made an incredible impact on my life, as well as the resident chaplains, Teddy Pinson, Ethan and Caitlin Brown, and Ben. There's so many other people that I could thank there, but I really also want to thank my church friends who are, hopefully maybe some of them are watching, but the Flynns, the Niemelas, the Prathers, the Honeycutts, all of whom are parents and put up with me at 20, I can't even remember how old I am, 24 I think, 24-year-old grad student just sitting in on lunches with them and learning from them. That was such a blessing. I want to thank then Nick Blair and Beth Benscooter from Brooks College, who served in the GRHD position. I just learned so much from the two of them, and they sort of set a model for the imagination to help me sort of pursue this as a vocation. So thank you both very much. And then I need to thank Leah Duncan, Dr. Suram, and Terry Garrett. You have all been so impactful in my life, made such a difference. Dr. Suram, you talked about Scott Moore saying you make a difference, trying to make a difference in the lives of people. You've made an incredible difference in my life, and I would not be the person I am today without you. And I want to say the same for Terry and for Leah. Then I want to thank my mom and my dad for all their support, and my brothers, Paul, Joel, and what's-his-face. Just kidding, Elliot. And then I want to thank my wonderful and amazing girlfriend, Rachel Grace Henson, for the support and encouragement and love that she has shown me in the last year and a half, particularly with her patience, as well as with her insight and her deep understanding, and just learning so much from her leadership. And finally, the people I need to thank the most specifically for this experience in the program is the quad, Andy, Papa, and Luke. I did not expect to have such amazing friends who have helped me to become a better Christian, a better human being, a better image of bearer of God. But I have been so blessed by my interactions with you and by the work that you've done in my life. I have no idea how long that was. Hopefully it was brief. Thank you all so much.
Jessica James.
So I want to start by thanking everyone that made this event possible after the last year and a half. It's so special to be here with people that I love and care about so deeply. And I want to thank the mentors that helped me get here: Laura Couvasier, Miss Lisa B., Trish Ulry, Aaron Nelson. I want to thank the mentors that helped me along the way: Jennifer Johnson, Ted Cockle, and Ryan Irk, and my family for supporting me as I moved across the country. 2 years ago, I remember sitting in my apartment on the night before our first class and writing down my fears, excitements, and prayers for what I wanted this next chapter of my life to look like. I was hungry for community, scared of failure, but expectant that the Lord was about to do something big in my life. I prayed to God, give me more of you and less of me. Warning, do not pray that prayer unless you are ready for some radical change in your life and willing to relinquish a great bit of control. This experience has been the most sanctifying endeavor of my life. I've learned to think deeply about life's big challenges and how higher education can either perpetuate or solve them. I've learned to care about students that I may not fully understand. I've seen the value of community and the sweetness of letting yourself be fully known. I've had more fun over these last 2 years than I ever thought I would have in grad school. I've been challenged to give up my expectations of what grad school or life should look like in pursuit of a greater story. Well, 2 years in a pandemic later, a better story is being written for me, and I love this life that I get to live. As I graduate, I feel like I look a bit more like Jesus, and that is because I look a bit more like the other members of my cohort. While we may be leaving Baylor, there are parts of each of you that I hope to take with me in whatever comes next. I hope to have a sense of humor like DeLacy and the ability to find laughter in the most ridiculous of situations. I hope to listen intently and think deeply like Sam, to be able to combine the thoughts of the scholars of yesterday with the innovative ideas of tomorrow. I hope to be empathetic like Madeline and be able to offer a listening ear, a big hug, and a full box of tissues to a friend in need. I hope to love like Alyssa, to know everyone, and I do mean everyone, and make them feel special and that they hold a special place in my heart. I hope to be quick to seek forgiveness and see God in all things like Papa, to revel in the majesty of our Creator and seek to bring it all back to Him. I hope to be a friend like Sarah, to be someone who is present in conversations and cares more about the person in front of me than the tasks on my to-do list. I hope to show grace like Tina, to exhibit poise in the face of challenges and see and value the humanity in other people. I hope to care like Andy, to believe in causes so deeply and fight to see justice in the world. I hope to value family like Kelsey, to show that whether you share a last name or a living room, that your people are the most important things in your life. I hope to have fun like Bailey and welcome other people into the party that is life. I hope to be hospitable like the Wald Billigs and be willing to open my home and feed those in need with enthusiasm and warmth, especially after a snowpocalypse. I hope to have confidence like Kat and approach life and opportunity with boldness. I hope that I leave this place as a better version of myself because I am a little bit more like each of you. In the words of Dr. Cloud, thank you for coming to Baylor University.
Madeline Lee.
Okay, so everyone who knows me well knows that I hate public speaking, so I still feel really nervous even after 2 years, although I'm not visibly trembling, so progress. But I wanted to start by telling a story because I am a storyteller. Once upon a time, I never wanted to leave Baylor. 3 years ago, after graduating the first time from this institution, I tried everything I could to stay. But all the doors closed, and I wasn't able to stay, which left me to question what God was doing in my life as I wandered into my gap year. Turns out God had a lot to teach me, some that I'm still learning to this day. And yet I don't see those closed doors as some cruel derailment of my own plans and hopes, but rather as a mercy meant to shape me to be more like Christ. Now there's way more to that story than I can get into today, but I tell this to say that if I had had my way 3 years ago, I would have missed out on the best cohort, the best apprenticeship, and many other sweet blessings. This time, as I prepare to graduate from Baylor a second time, I am ready. My time at Baylor is coming to an ending, and I know it is time to leave this institution I love and have considered home and go onward to the next place God has for me. I am no stranger to transition, and each one does seem a little harder. It is hard to imagine life without the friends I've made in my cohort. It is difficult to imagine not working for multicultural affairs anymore, but I've learned so much from these people who made Baylor home for me a second time, and it is time for me to take that knowledge elsewhere. As hard as goodbyes are, I feel at peace leaving and moving on. And I have so many people to thank for who I am today and how I have grown. First, I thank God who orchestrated my life to this moment and to include all the people I've crossed paths with. I also thank the staff of Multicultural Affairs who built up my confidence to do this work well. I am so appreciative of Cheryl's thoughtfulness, Geronda's encouragement, Katie's friendship, Mrs. Beverly's wisdom, and Jeffrey's support. Jeffrey, you really were the best supervisor I could have had in this season of my life. HESA faculty, I'm so grateful for how you have guided our learning. You made me feel like a true scholar, and it was an honor to learn from you. Thank you, too, for the ways you adapted during this unexpected pandemic. Zoom class was never ideal, but I never dreaded coming to class because I knew we were going to learn and have good conversations. Next, thank you to my family, pun definitely intended, who loved me well through the stress of grad school, which was no easy task. I mean it when I say I would not be here today, finally a hooded master, without my parents pushing me on and keeping me from quitting. Last and certainly far from least, thank you to my cohort. Not only have I learned so much from each and every single one of you, but you welcomed me in and loved me for all my quirks and nerdiness and intense love for Baylor and the Minnesota Vikings. You were you were there for me when I needed you, and you are the other reason why I persisted until the end. I'm going to miss all of you so, so much. Like I said, goodbyes never get easier for me, but know that I will continue to pray for you, continue to cheer you on, and continue to be your friend all the way from Oklahoma. I thank God for my gap year, which I never wanted, because that year of waiting meant that I got to be your friend. And with that, my Baylor story has come to an end, and what a happy ending it is. Thank you all so much, and Sick 'em Bears.
Alyssa Miggy.
All right, can y'all hear me? I'm a little small. Okay. Our everyday lives are filled with liturgies, small habitual practices, actions that ultimately comprise our lives. Author, professor, and philosopher James K.A. Smith makes the argument in his book titled You Are What You Love that contrary to surrounding culture's idea that we are rational beings, humans are driven by what we love. Smith notes that habitual actions are ultimately liturgies that point to and orient us toward our heart's true desire, showing much of our character. I realize now how much I came to cherish the liturgies that became a part of my overall graduate school experience long before I could categorize them as such, and many of them had to do with all of you. When it came to the classroom experience, there were plenty. I think of Dr. Sriram placing the 1-minute cube timer on the table before class, and Dr. Glanzer reading scripture over us as we cleared our mind to engage. I picture Dr. Newman writing Luke's name on the board because he is out of control. And I recall the feeling of mad matter in my hands as I ponder the qualitative research question of the day. Lastly, I laugh a little when we were reminded weekly that we never got to Access Day with Elijah because we talk too much. Through all of these habits, I was led to learn. As for friends, I often laugh at the simple actions that made this cohort friendship feel like home. I frequently expected Papa to pry deeper into a topic in class, inviting us to do the same as he asked questions and gave input. With that, I also expected Andy to rebuttal his remark and argue clean across the classroom, adding a pinch of humor and depth to the experience. I enjoyed when Kat would make a brief comment in an online class and everyone would treat what she said as pure gold. Tina's advocacy and Sarah's empathy toward all always pushed me to challenge my own preconceived notions. Madeline's deep, loud laughter and Luke's Snapchats of him with Blythe with ridiculous filters on truly became cohort favorites. Sam's frequent puns became a classroom staple, and I will forever admire Kelsey and Bailey's spontaneity and their enthusiasm about the little adventures in life. Lastly, Jess asking everyone to HESA weekly lunch parties made others feel included, and DeLacy's stories of res life never ceased to amaze me. Through all of these habits, I was led to a deeper understanding of loving my neighbor. Lastly, perhaps some of my favorite liturgies came from my apprenticeship in the Honors Residential College. Ooh, here we go. I did not expect that. Nearly every day that I worked in office, I'd walk up to Alexander Hall's back door and knock for whoever working at the desk would let me in. As annoying as I'm sure that was for many of the student workers, one recently stated in a kind note to me that she would miss seeing my face at the back door of the hall. So I guess it wasn't so bad for everyone. Sorry. Ooh. I'll miss assisting students set up for events and watching it come to life as people found lifelong friendships, the hanging bell on my office door ringing every time I entered, and my long recurring visits to Courtney's office. I hope that through my day-to-day actions and my presence, I showed how much I deeply cherish those around me. I don't think I'll ever know kinder and quirkier students. Through all of these habits, I was led to community. Thank you to everyone who challenged me to take on this program and to persevere through it. It is by your care, wisdom, and support that I have accomplished such a feat. Thank you to my parents, Ryan Harrington, Courtney DePalma, and the Witt family for being my biggest fans throughout this process. And additionally, I am grateful to all the professors in this program who challenged me as an academic, as a professional, as a Christian. It is by the various ways that you have all touched my life that I have formed personal habits to push myself toward the greatest goal of all, to love God wholly, because he who knew no sin became sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God. Baylor HESA, thanks for taking a chance on me. And in the words of Jess and RCC, thanks for coming to Baylor.
Papa Nkrumah Abevio.
Ooh, Master Papa. I like how that sounds. To keep with the theme of what Jess said, this morning and yesterday I was reflecting on my time here, and Zechariah chapter 4 stood out to me. In Zechariah chapter 4, Zechariah, who's a prophet, brings a message to Zerubbabel. The temple that Solomon rebuilt had been broken down, and Zerubbabel had to rebuild the temple. And it was a difficult task. And the message of the angel from God through Zechariah to Zerubbabel was, not by might, nor by power, but by the Spirit, so that they may say that it's my work. And there'll be shouts of grace, grace, grace to it. My HESA journey has been my version of building a temple. And it's a testimony to the work of God in my life, because there were many times where it felt overwhelming. But today I'm standing here with this temple to declare the glory of God and the amazing work he has done in my life. But there are other people I need to thank for this work also. I want to thank my parents who have sacrificed so much. As a petroleum engineering undergrad, after paying all that tuition to allow me to pursue my passion in education, I'm really grateful for that. Knowing that it doesn't even pay as much as petroleum engineering would ever do. Really thankful for Dr. Shiram and for Elijah and for all the people on my thesis committee. I'm thankful for all the professors. Really thankful that I got to work with international students, with Brandon and Grace and Jorge and all the people, and even Marcus. Thank you for being my HESA dad. So many people to be thankful for. I also really want to be thankful for my church community and Patrick, who's here. One of the things that I learned is how important church community is. And so thank you that you welcome me into your family and have been the church of God for me. And then to my cohort, thank you so much for being willing to listen to everything I have to say in class, even if it doesn't make sense, and always being the first person to speak up. Thank you so much for my roommates. After a year of living alone in loneliness, living with you guys was really, really such a good time. And thank you to the Ward Buildings. I know Blythe isn't here, but Luke and Blythe, thank you for opening your home so many times that I was lonely that first year and being willing to play board games with me. I'm really grateful to be here, and I feel like my HESA journey has really prepared me for my next step, and I'm excited. Thank you.
Sarah Patterson.
I
have gifts for all of you, but they're not made yet. I also am planning to write a letter to each of you, but that hasn't happened. Tina, I think that they'll come before. I'm not sure where they are in the lineup, but you'll get them sometime around the same time as talent show gifts, yeah. Okay. Days before I moved to Waco 2 summers ago, one of my friends threw a surprise going away party for me, topped with green and gold decorations and Baylor-themed cookies. What moved me the most, though, was that some of my student life mentors from Hardin-Simmons showed up to play board games with a group of 22-year-olds to celebrate what was next for me. Other student life mentors made time for dinner and coffee the week before I left Abilene. They really cared about me. I wrote a note to myself before starting with HESA and Union Board to remind myself of why I believed in this work and who I want to be decades from now as a seasoned student life professional. The note starts with a reminder of all the ways my own student life mentors have taken an interest in my life and empowered me. And the note ends with the hope for myself that maybe at the end of all of these future years in higher education, I too will have shown up for current and former students and will find myself with a lump in my throat trying to whisper a thank you to God for generations of friends. This is my hope for all of you too. May we keep showing up for students, may we keep caring because we believe education is great proof of hope, and may we be willing to be the model of a good friend to countless colleagues and students. These aspirations probably won't fix everything, but caring about college students and one another seems like a good place to start. So now I say thank you to all of you for all the ways you've cared about higher education, student success and belonging, and my cohort's experience as graduate students and emerging higher education professionals. To my professors and TAs, thank you for caring about your curriculum and class discussions, for caring to challenge us to think critically about our efforts in higher education. But more so, thank you for caring about us, for laughing with us during class breaks, for navigating the academic portion of a global pandemic with us, and for taking a genuine interest in our passions and lives. To Sarah Madsen, if anyone anywhere ever says anything bad about you, I will be so upset. You deserve only praise for your dedication, patience, wisdom, and grace working on a thesis with me. Thank you for caring about ideologically diverse friend groups and for making everything about the entire process and final manuscript 1000% better. To Jordy, thank you for choosing me to co-advise Union Board with you. Learning about the inclusive purpose of student unions, the fast-paced nature of late-night weekend programming, and all of the ways you cultivate a culture of joy and friendship within a programming board has been a total dream. I feel so, so proud to have been a small part of Union Board's legacy alongside you. To my parents, thank you for always answering the phone, for believing in whatever I believe in doing, for letting me live with you during the onset of the pandemic, and for influencing so much of who I am. I like being your daughter so much. And to my cohort, I'm so sad. I haven't even had time for my usual rituals of reflection just yet, but I know this much from the past 2 years. I'm so grateful to have shared classrooms, conversations, and daily life with you. Thank you for being people I can count on to talk through small work dilemmas or large societal inequities, now and well into our future careers. Thank you, each of you, for your incredibly kind and affirming words about who I am as a student life professional and as a friend. Thank you for the friends you have been to me, making me more thoughtful, generous, and altogether better. And most of all, thank you for not ever kicking me out of the group me for talking too much. Here's to HESA, and here's to you.
Christina Tina Pickett.
Hello. How do I do this? Is that close enough? I'm gonna keep my mask on because I forgot to bring tissues. So that'll help. To our professors, thank you for an amazing experience inside and outside the classroom. I'm pretty sure every single one of you have seen me break down and cry and claim that I'm fine when I wasn't actually fine. But thank you for just accepting the bag of emotions and feelings that I am. And more importantly, thank you for helping me through those moments to focus on academics and accomplish things that make me feel proud of myself for some of the first times in my life. Thank you for accepting me into this program for who I was and then pushing me to become somebody even better. Thank you for equipping me with the tools needed to develop, grow, and continuously learn throughout this program. Thank you for answering the million questions I always had for you, often in an email past 11 p.m. with 3 follow-up questions before you even had a chance to respond. But overall, there was always a reply, and you all made it clear that my time here mattered and you cared about me. For my cohort, thank you as well for accepting me. Thank you for pushing me to become somebody even better. I'm not going to look up at my speech at any of you because it will jog too many memories that will either make me laugh uncontrollably or start to cry. Note to past Tina, I've already started crying. So thank you for being there for the good moments, and thank you for being there for the bad ones. Thank you for sitting with me in all of my times of vulnerability and allowing me to sit there with you in your times. Thank you for always laughing at my jokes and appreciating my magic tricks. I would not have gotten through a single midterm if it weren't for all of you. Thank you to my supervisor, hopefully zooming in, for treating me with such dignity, respect, and for trusting me and making my apprenticeship an experience that I'm not too sure I want to leave. And lastly, thank you to Paul, not Sam's brother, but my fiance, in Chicago, for listening to all of my rants about higher education, often with no context, and amidst of all this chaos, still asking me to marry you. I said yes. Overall, thank you to everyone in this program. I'll catch y'all later. If you need me, I'll be on my mobile.
Kelsey Sanchez.
I'm already falling apart, so I'm going to keep this really short. In typical Kelsey fashion, I didn't plan a speech. But I remember 2 years ago sitting in a circle with all of you at ProSim and realizing that my expectations for this program and what HESA was going to look like were probably a little off. And then, of course, the world decided to fall apart, and any expectations that were left were thrown out the window. The past 2 years have been the most challenging, exhausting, difficult, beautiful, rewarding, and growing part of my life, and I cannot imagine what I would be doing if not for all of you. So a few thank yous. First to my family, because I'm Kelsey, and you all know I can't leave them out. I love you so much, and I'm looking forward to less FaceTime calls and more hugs. To the faculty and PhD students who have taken the time to pour into each of us, who have sat in the classroom encouraging conversations and making us question our own beliefs and our thoughts and rethink who we are as humans. Y'all are the most intelligent, wise people in the world, and it's been such an honor to learn from each of you. To Katie, I'm gonna cry because I can't fall apart. You are the best thing that I could have ever asked for the past few years. You have taught me so much about myself and about taking care of who I am, about loving other people and seeing the joy and the adventure in this career. I could have never asked for an experience like this, and I love you so much. I'm so thankful. And this is my cohort, and here's where the tears come. You are my favorite people in the entire world. And when I started this program, I never expected to form the friendships that we have. I could go individually and talk about the things I will take from each of you into my life and the ways that you have grown me and taught me about myself and about how to love Jesus better. But the biggest blessing is that he let me learn alongside each of you. And sitting next to you in the classroom was the greatest honor. But sitting next to you in life it's the best. Thank you for loving me and being my friend. And it's going to be the sweetest thing in the world to watch each of you go and change the world and this career for the better. I love you.
Rebecca Bailey Schwab.
I didn't have time to print this, so I'm reading this off my phone. Wow. We made it. I've practiced my Oscars acceptance speech so many times, but I still feel very unprepared for this moment. I want to start by thanking my parents and family, who I hope were able to figure out the technological issues that they were having and are watching this, hopefully. Hello. I also want to thank my Baylor Wellness family who could be here, Elisa Petty and Dr. Dominique Hill. Thank you for your care and guidance over the past 2 years. I'm so thankful for this program, and I've definitely grown a lot since we started. I've experienced some of the highest highs, like successfully organizing a 5K or passing my capstone defense, and the lowest lows, like crying in multiple of my professors' offices. Shout out Dr. Newman and Nathan. But we have made it through, and I've learned so much. Of course, different student development theories and higher education concepts are vital to the program, but I've gained much more knowledge than just what we've learned in the classroom. I learned that if I ever have an emergency at 2 a.m. or need to know something about birds, I'm going to call Andy. I learned about lots of philosophers whose names I won't even try to pronounce, but my permanent and incredible group partner Sam taught me that. I learned from Papa that disagreeing with people in class is okay, particularly if their name is Andy, and also that iced caramel macchiatos are a necessity. I learned from Luke, well, Luke, you're just out of control. I learned that purple and gold do in fact match, and that the Minnesota Vikings are the best football team, from Dr. Lee. I learned that Fountain Mall is a great place to have an hour-long conversation about life in 45-degree weather, from DeLacy. I've learned intricate details about the Jonas Brothers, the Vampire Diaries, and the Enneagram, from Melissa. I've learned the value of the GroupMe calendar, from Sarah, who's also the best concert partner. I've learned about TikTok and musical theater, and also how to be a great host, from Jess. I've been conditioned to want ice cream around 8 p.m. every night, and I learned from Tina that I'll always have someone to go with. I learned that although Kat might not be the best cat mom, she's a great co-dog mom. And lastly, I've learned that anytime I text Kelsey WID, she will likely respond with IDK, but not until she wakes up from her nap. To all the various faculty, staff, and members of both cohorts who I've come into contact with over the past 2 years, I thank you. I've learned something from each and every one of you, and I'm leaving different and better than when I got here. Most importantly, though, I've learned that we created a family here in Waco, and one that I'll cherish forever. Thank you.
Andy Taylor.
I didn't even think of printing mine out. That would have been a good idea. Well, thank you to all my colleagues who have blessed us with such a wonderful opportunity for reflection thus far. You all, both individually and collectively, are what makes this program so great and have made it such an amazing experience. So I'll try to ignore the collective shouts of jubilation when you realize that this is the absolute last time you'll ever have to hear me present anything. So there you go. I have 2 goals for this brief time. That may surprise you. Yeah. The first is to stay within my allotted time frame, which, if I do so, will probably be the foremost accomplishment in this program for me. And the second is to actually use the notes in front of me, put differently, to force myself to think before I speak, which if you've had the opportunity to serve as my professor, classmate, parent, roommate, you know that that's sometimes a challenge for me. So to look back and reflect on this program would be an incomplete exercise without a sincere expression of gratitude. So I like to think that I've never really had an original thought. Every part of who I am has been shaped and molded by the people in my life. Those who have graciously, lovingly, patiently poured into my life, even when I was undeserving. Those who had faith in me, even when I gave them no reason to. Those who gave me hope in times that felt hopeless. Especially to my parents who have dedicated their lives to the service of others, for setting a model for me to follow, sometimes unwillingly and indirectly, but a model to follow nonetheless. To my older brother, Ben, the most brilliant person I've ever met in my entire life, for 25 years of tolerating me and for dear and close friendship. To my younger siblings, whose dreams, accomplishments, and love for people exceed my own and continue to impress me every single day. To all of my dear friends, those who I left behind 2 years ago to come down here, and to all of you, who unfortunately I'll leave some of today, but I'm sure we'll see each other again. To my coworkers, the toughest, hardest working people on this campus, you are what make Baylor great, and you have just been so kind to me throughout the 2 years here. I'm so thankful to have been placed where I was. To my phenomenal professors who challenged me, supported me, and despite occasionally mocking my choice of theory, Nathan, this part's about Nathan, equipped me well to think deeply and care about this work. I also want to thank the University of Toledo, a public state institution, for preparing me well to succeed in this graduate school program. And looking forward briefly, I just want to say to my colleagues, coworkers, and to everyone involved in this work of student affairs, never let anyone tell you that this work isn't important. And don't you dare for a second think that for yourself. The nature of this work is such that we may not ever get to see the results of the seeds we plant. We may never see the impact that we have on students, but speaking from experience, that certainly doesn't make the work unimportant. We've been given a gift, a precious gift, to be able to serve people, love people, and care for people in a really unique way. And it's something of immeasurable value. I hope we can see it as such. I'd like to close with a brief prayer that's had enormous significance in my life over the course of the past 5 years. It's the peace prayer of St. Francis, which reads, "Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. Where there's sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may seek not so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, and it is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born again to eternal life." Yeah, that actually probably was the end. Probably over time. Education's a public good. Parking tickets are taxation without representation. And thank you for letting me go before Papa so he couldn't disagree with everything I said. All right, peace out.
Luke Waldbiggett.
Graduate school at Baylor has been an experience beyond measure for me. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to study, live, and learn here at Baylor for the last 2 years that were anything but predictable. Being here has been beyond measure for me because of why I sought the opportunity to do graduate school here and the people who the Lord has used to make my experiences beyond what I ever could have imagined when I began. To my University House colleagues, Dr. Robert Creech, Professor Brent Phillips, Aaron Loachman, and 6 community leaders, you bring life and energy and wisdom to my day-to-day life. You've shown me life on purpose in so many ways and have kept me humble when I think I'm a big deal. My supervisors, Ian Philbrick and Lisa Murphy, your fingerprints are all over my professional journey and all over my life, and I'm so grateful for your excellence as mentors and listeners. To my fellow grads, Jillian and Megan, who shared an office with me for 2 years, wow, you put up with a lot. Thank you for laughing with me and for the wealth of experience you bring to this role. I've learned much from each of you. I'm grateful to have spent much of my time alongside you. To the colleagues in Campus Living and Learning, your heart for good work, constant encouragement of your colleagues both personally and professionally is inspiring. You seek to make people feel seen and heard and known and loved, and I want to carry that with me to my next destination. To Sam and Dr. Glanzer, thank you for your mentorship and collaboration on our thesis. It was the most challenging academic project I've ever undertaken, and I could not have done it without you. You were extremely gracious to allow me to be a part of it, and that thank you is also extended to the rest of the faculty. To my cohort, I prayed for real community in coming here 2 years ago. There was a lot changing in my life. I was getting married and moving across the country as we were starting, and I knew I needed community around me, and the Lord has been incredibly faithful through each of you to do that, and I'm so grateful for that and for the learning journey that we've been on the last 2 years. It's been a real privilege to be alongside you. I want to thank the Grace Church family that my wife and I have been a part of over the last 2 years. That was another answer to prayer for community through our small group and various other outlets of just being involved in the local Waco community here. To my family, you have made much of this journey possible. Thank you for your constant support of moving across the country and embracing this journey. And finally, to Blythe. People who meet her first think way more highly of me, which is way beyond what I deserve. I deserve my name written on the board with a check mark after it. You're welcome to congratulate me for achieving a master's degree, but please make your gifts out to her. She is a gift to my life and has been a gift to our cohort in so many ways. And so I'm excited for what's next for us, and I'm thrilled that you took the risk of jumping in and coming into Baylor with both feet. Love you very much. I'd like to close just to reiterate the verses that Dr. Glanzer started our time together with that have really been just sort of a source of guidance throughout this whole journey, and that the verses read toward the end, and now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ask or imagine, according to his power that's at work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus forever and ever. And it's to these people that I've thanked, and to all of you, thank you for helping shape this experience that has been immeasurably more to me than I could have ever asked or imagined.
Catherine Kat Washak.
In Kelsey fashion, I also do not have a written speech, but as I learned in this program, there are no rules. I want to thank all of the faculty and TAs who have poured just an immense amount of passion and dedication and time into our cohort, their patience with us as we took 2 hours to discuss a question that was supposed to take 10 minutes, and always reining us back into control. I want to thank Dom and Josh, my supervisors with Spiritual Life, for just their dedication to me and investment in my professional development. To the women and men at Equity, Civil Rights, and Title IX, who've taught me what professional pranks look like and how to truly have so much fun while dealing with such deep and meaningful work. And to Melissa, especially, who has transitioned from a supervisor to mentor to friend over the past 5 years. I want to thank my family and friends who have encouraged me from back home. And finally, my cohort. Obviously, we've been through so many big things together, global news-making things, stressful things like capstone and thesis. But it's the little things that I want to thank you most for an education about the Jonas Brothers, for Madeline's laugh breaking the silence of a class, Papa's giggle in late-night game nights, Bailey singing Hamilton when we're snowed in for 10 days, Tina literally mopping up my blood when I almost only had 8 toes. These are the things I'll remember when I see you again. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. To offer a benediction and to close us out this morning, I'd like to call to the stage Dr. Nathan Alleman, Associate Professor.
I also didn't print anything out. First of all, if anyone needs a kitten, come and talk to me afterward. Bailey, you're on the list already. In the past, when I've done benedictions, we've had this room full of not just graduates, but their family and loved ones are usually here in person, which is part of what makes this occasion so great. And usually at this point, I ask everyone to stand up, and I'm going to ask you to stand up now because you've been sitting a long time, so please stand up. And I would ask the family to surround their graduate and put their hands on their shoulders, and we can't do that today, and we know why, because they're not here. But we'll trust that they're doing that virtually. But I think also, given this cohort, I would love for you all just to do that with each other. Just put your hands on each other's shoulders as I offer this benediction. May the God who gives you every breath fill you with the light of Christ's love, give you peace when the way is unclear, and give you the courage to do the hard things that God has given you to do. Remember, you go into this cloud of witnesses, those who have gone before you, those who are with you now, those who you will support into the future. Go in peace, friends. God is with you. We are with you. John Thielen is with you. Amen. I believe Kat now has the stage.
Now that the official festivities are over, the cohort would like to present some gifts to show our appreciation for the faculty and TAs that have made our experience so special. So, in a minute, I'll invite Jessica James to introduce our first individualized gift, but I wanted to start by saying that we have something for all of you. Spoiler alert, it's a framed picture of our cohort to remember us by for your offices, your homes, your cars, wherever you want to think of us most. So please make sure you get that from us before you leave. So now, Jessica, I'll invite you up.
Great, thanks, Kat. As the self-appointed chair of the gift-giving committee, we have put in a little bit of time and effort just to thank the faculty members that have meant so much to us. And so Alyssa's going to come up and present our gift for Dr. Newman and has a couple words she'd like to say.
Okay, just a brief word, 'cause I know everyone has plans the rest of the day, but this gift is for you, Dr. Newman. Dr. Newman is someone who I think many of us have said she's like the mom of HESA. And that's how I would describe it. She has helped me find mechanics in Waco, and she has texted me asking about life updates. She has encouraged me, and I think that we speak on behalf of everyone that you're like the best hostess I think we've ever had. And so thank you for all your work. Yes, go for it. Yeah.
Elijah, no, don't go. Please come forward, Elijah. So we have this gift for Elijah. For those of you who don't know, Elijah is a PhD student here at Baylor, and we had the incredible opportunity to have him teach us a cultural issues class. And I think unanimously amongst us, we all agree that this was one of the best classes. What we have for Elijah, one of the first things that Elijah told us when we started class was that he loved to eat food with people. That was the best way he thought to make friends. And so Elijah, today we have for you a recipe book with a recipe from each of us that means something to us, that over the years you can spend time to cook and remember each of us by. Thank you so much for making our class wonderful and for caring about us and having lunch with us even outside of class. Thank you so much.
Why are you laughing? I didn't do anything yet. Well, it looks like Dr. Glanzer dipped out, but he can watch this back on the recording. So, Dr. Glanzer, we are so thankful to have had you as professor. The depth of analysis and learning to reflect deeply is something I think we all learn to appreciate through your courses. So yeah, just thank you for being so willing to meet with us outside of class. There's a certain irony in having me up here because I think if you were to just watch Dr. Glanzer and I interact in class or through various articles he's written referencing some of my ideas, you may think that we might be pretty incongruent, but truly he was so generous with his time and genuinely just cared for our development and our internal spiritual state, and that's something I really hope we can all go forth and model in our future professions. So we do have a gift for you wherever you are. Depending on how much I like it, I might keep it. See ya.
Nathan? Sir? I'll try to keep this as emotionless as possible to cater to your needs. Sorry. I have notes. Nathan! Thank you for your time with us. You demanded our best and truly believed in us, and I think your teaching style and classroom environment allowed us to safely explore our cohort dynamic for the first time in history of higher ed. I think it helped us develop one of our most valuable characteristics, which is to debate and challenge each other, yet leave the classroom closer as friends. So thank you for that. Thank you for creating that environment, and thank you for pushing us to be our best. But also, thank you for recognizing in the times when we were stressed and overwhelmed and our best work seemed to slip away. Thank you for being kind. Thank you for listening to us, encouraging rest, and being there for us in our most vulnerable moments. I know I often joke with you about emotional intelligence and emotions, but you have to know that you truly make students feel safe to express what they're feeling and deeply cared for. We would not be here without your support. Every week in Nathan's class, we would have a quiz of the week, and he would give us, whoever won it, not me, would get a sticker of Thielen's face. So we made you your own stickers with your face on it.
Dr. Suram. So before I give this to you, I want to just say that when I first met you, I was a little confused because you seemed, one, very articulate and thoughtful and clever, but you were also, if I can say, sorry, I was going to take my mask off so my glasses don't fog up, a little bit of a goofball. And I mean that with the greatest and deepest respect. I did not realize until much later how much you put on the line for this program for us. You have championed this program when it has floundered, when there was threatened to take our funding away. You fought for us. You have pushed against the entire tide of Baylor at points in order to keep this program and keep us learning and growing and developing. You have made yourself look like a fool, which I imagine for you is one of the hardest possible things to do in order that we might be blessed. And I believe truly in the words of the Bible that God has taken what is foolish to shame the wise and taken what is humble and weak to shame the strong. I have seen you do so much, accomplish so much, and make so much of a difference in many ways. I believe your CV is somewhere around the line of 30 to 45,000 pages. But that ultimately will not matter. As Samuel Palmer Brooks says, only the important things matter. As I said, you have made a difference in the lives of people. You have made a difference in our lives. And that is through the sacrifice and the hard work that you have done. In our classes, we have a nickname for you. It's Rish the Dish. And I like to say that you can dish it out as good as you can take it when it comes to fighting for this cohort and for this program. You have been such a blessing to me and to this cohort and to this program, to this university, and to the people that you have served and loved and valued. We would not be who we are without you. This program would not be what it was without you. And so this is just a small token of our gratitude and our appreciation. Thank you for being here. Really, just thank you. All right, Jess, we're good? TAs, come get your picture frames. Thank you all so much.
Cohort, if you would like a group picture, then Meg is here and will just stay in this area and we'll get that set up for you. We are officially dismissed. Thank you all for your time and for being here.